Hello there, it's Grandma Bev. How have you been this hot summer week? It sure has been fun. I hope you managed to get in a water fight or running in the sprinkler or doing something special to stay cool. Did you manage to do your activities in the package? Those bird feeders were pretty special. I took a little time this week to look at some pictures. When my son was little, he loved Robin. Not Batman, Robin. I just had to make sure he didn't hurt himself copying his superhero. Later on, that boy joined the army. Now, that was not my choice for him. I love my boy, so I just wanted him to be safe. But then he decided to go to war. War, is that something a superhero would do? Defend his country? Now, what about you? Do you have a favorite superhero? They sure can do amazing things, can't they? Like stopping trains or lifting airplanes. It's pretty special, the things that are written into scripts for superheroes. Well, there's also some pretty strong people around. Have you ever watched on TV the strong people competitions where they're actually using their bodies to pull huge trucks or sometimes even lift massive weights? They're very strong. God is stronger. He's stronger than the world's strongest strongman. He's stronger than all the superheroes put together. You see, God is omnipotent or all-powerful. As humans, our muscles get tired, and we're limited by the laws of nature. We have to stop and take a break. We have to work within the framework of the laws of nature that God created. But God exists outside of our world. God can do anything He wants. God is supernatural, and God is almighty. One of the biggest examples of God's power is His power over death. Sometimes doctors can help people when they're sick and help them get better, but eventually everyone will die. People have no power to stop death, but Jesus, God the Son, has power to stop death. In the ultimate act of power, Jesus brought Himself back to life after He had been put to death on a cross. Jesus showed us that God has power over everything, even death. Job 42, verse 2 says, I know that you can do all things. No plan of yours can be thwarted. In 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 5, the Bible also says, so that your faith might not rest on man's wisdom, but on God's power. When my son went to war, life was too hard and too big for me to handle. I wanted God to swoop in like a superhero and bring him home safely to me. But God worked in a more powerful way. First, He taught my heart to trust Him more. And then, He was also working in my son's life. He used my son to help build a school for girls and to bring healing and medicine to the villages and give Christmas presents to children on Christmas Day. God did things I would not have imagined. He used my son to keep people safe, and He taught my son many things that he would never have learned in Canada. Only an all-powerful God could work so powerfully in many people's lives all over the world. Our memory verse this week is Psalm 46, verse 1. God is our refuge and strength, and ever-present help in trouble. Our Bible story is from the Jesus Storybook Bible, written by Sally Lloyd-Jones and illustrated by Jago Silver. The captain of the storm. The sun was going down. The air was warm and still. "Let's go across the lake," Jesus said to his friends. Jesus had been helping people all day, and now he was tired. So they left the crowds on the shore and set out in a small fishing boat. Jesus climbed into the boat to take a nap. As soon as his head touched the pillow, he was fast asleep. It was a beautiful evening. A gentle breeze rustled the sails. The friends were chatting happily as they headed out into the middle of the lake. Everything was perfect, just right for a nice, quiet sail. They were only about halfway across when, out of nowhere, whirling winds swept across the lake, fierce and strong, like a hurricane. A blinding flash of lightning lit up the sky. Thunder roared right overhead. The storm blew the water into towering waves that hurled the little boat up, 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 and then sent it hurtling, crashing back down, down, down. The fishing boat was blown and buffeted and tossed and turned, back and forth and up and down and left and right and round and round. And in the middle of the storm, Jesus was sleeping. Now, Jesus' friends had been fishermen all their lives, but in all their years fishing on this lake, they had never once seen a storm like this one. No matter how hard they struggled with their ropes and sails, they couldn't control their boat. This storm was too big for them, but the storm wasn't too big for Jesus. "Help!" they screamed. "Wake up! Quick, Jesus!" Jesus opened his eyes. "Rescue us! Save us!" they shrieked. "Don't you care?" Of course Jesus cared, and this was the very reason he had come, to rescue them and to save them. Jesus stood up and spoke to the storm. "Hush," he said, "that's all." And the strangest thing happened. The wind and the waves recognized Jesus' voice. They had heard it before, of course. It was the same voice that had made them in the very beginning. They listened to Jesus and they did what he said. Immediately the wind stopped. The water calmed down. It glittered innocently in the moonlight and lapped quietly against the side of the boat as if nothing had happened. The little boat bobbed gently up and down. There was a deep stillness and a great quiet all around. Then Jesus turned to his wind-torn friends. "Why were you scared?" he asked. Did you forget who I am? Did you believe your fears instead of me?" Jesus' friends were quiet as the wind and the waves, and into their hearts came a different kind of storm. "What kind of man is this?" they asked themselves anxiously. "Even the winds and the waves obey him," they said, because they didn't understand. They didn't realize yet that Jesus was the Son of God. Jesus' friends had been so afraid they had only seen the big waves. They had forgotten that if Jesus was with them, then they had nothing to be afraid of, no matter how small their boat or how big the storm. Isn't that something? The disciples forgot who was in the boat with them, that Jesus would have power over the storm. Well, sometimes life is hard, and it is too big for us. But remember that no matter what you're going through, Jesus is with you, and you can call out and ask the all-powerful, all-knowing God to help you and He will. But He might do it a little differently than you expect. Omnipotent God, thank you for being strong when I am not. You are all-powerful and can do anything you decide to do. You even have power over death. Wow! Help me to remember that I can ask you for help when I face hard things. Amen. You are rescued. God has rescued you from sin and death. God gives you His strength when you are weak. Just ask God to rescue you, and He will.